The Fever win their first game of the year. Conor Daly looks like a true 500 contender. And Taylor baseball and Indiana Wesleyan and Marian softball are headed to the NAIA World Series. And so much more coming up on the Central Indiana Sports Report's 10-minute daily report. 10 minutes tailored specifically for Central Indiana sports fans. A little earlier than usual because I got a thing today. Plus, this is the time of day it will typically be released starting June 1st. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and I love Central Indiana sports. Producer Susie is in the control room. Today is Thursday, March 14, 2026, and as we do every day, we start with headlines. The Fever won their first game of the year, leading start to finish, essentially, in an 87-78 win over the Sparks in Los Angeles late Wednesday. Conor Daly and Alex Palou, the fastest again at Wednesday's practice at IMS for the 110th Indianapolis 500. The Colts will play Washington in London on October 4th. Their full schedule will be released late Thursday. Taylor baseball and Indiana Wesleyan and Marian softball all headed to NAIA World Series. Plus, we will have NBA and NHL playoff updates, Reds and Cubs results from boys volleyball sectionals at Hamilton Southeastern, and so much more. Before we get to all of that, quick programming note. I planned on having Michelle Garman on this podcast to recap the Fever's win, but I forgot I have something in the morning, so I'm releasing the podcast a little early. We'll hear from Michelle and John Garman after Friday's home game against the Mystics on the Fever Report. Michelle joined Elijah Poe, Dave Chanley, and myself on the IndyCar Report, recapping and reacting to Wednesday's practice for the Indy 500. We released that last night. Please go check it out. Also, we'll have an IU report for you first thing Friday morning. Grant Schaus and Mike Hutzel talking IU basketball schedules, plus their breakdown of the new players in Coach Cignetti's football program. And it's a good one. Thanks for joining us. Your 10-minute update begins now. Caitlin Clark scored the Fever's first 5 points, and 9 of their first 11, and Indiana pretty much led from start to finish. Led as much as 60-39 midway through the third quarter in Wednesday's 87-78 win over the LA Sparks out west. Their first win of the year and their first road game of the year, and it all started with Clark's playmaking and Kelsey Mitchell scoring. Clark 24 points and 9 assists. She did have 6 turnovers, though. Mitchell finished with 23 points. Both were 9 for 17 from the field. Both were perfect at the foul line. Sophie Cunningham hit a couple of big threes and scored 12. Leah Boston just 4 points in 23 minutes. But she did have 7 rebounds and a couple of nice assists and was +7, so no worries, I guess. Monique Billings made her Fever debut against the team that cut her in the preseason in 2024. Finished with 9 points and 8 rebounds. Kelsey Plum's 25 led all scorers, and former Fever star Erica Wheeler scored 2 points in 21 minutes for the 0-2 Sparks. The Fever now play 4 straight games at home starting Friday against the Mystics. And again, we will have a Fever report with John and Michelle reacting to it early Saturday. Noblesville's Conor Daly was fastest at Wednesday's practice for the 110th Indianapolis 500. Of course, Conor, the favorite of the Central Indiana Sports Report, went 228.080 miles per hour, the first to go over 228 miles per hour this month. Alex Palou did a little later. He went 228.026 miles per hour. Those two have been the two best performers so far, especially if you include the 2 April tests, and then you throw in the 2 days this week. They were almost a mile per hour faster than third fastest David Malukas, who was 0.3 faster than the fourth fastest Graham Rahal, who put down a nice 226.835 late in the day. The rest of the top 10 were Romain Grosjean, Scott Dixon, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Santino Ferrucci, and Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood had the fastest no-toe time at 222.062. Looks like he'll be a contender for the pole on Sunday. Elijah Poe and I will be recapping it anytime there's track activity, so if you're into the Indy 500, you're going to want to subscribe. We'll also have a Indy 500 preview next week with predictions. The Colts will play in London instead of Germany this year in Week 4 against Washington, October 4th at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The international schedule was announced by the NFL on Wednesday. Of course, the Colts beat the Falcons in overtime last year in Berlin and the Patriots in 2023 in Hamburg. The Colts' last game in London was a 30-27 loss to the Jaguars in 2016. The entire NFL schedule will be released at 8 o'clock tonight. We should have a Colts report for you with reaction sometime on Friday. Number 1 Taylor is headed to the NAIA World Series after blasting Indiana Tech 22-10 Wednesday for its 52nd win of the year. Caden Wu and Ben Kennedy both had 4 RBIs for the Trojans, who are now 52-5 as they head to Lewiston, Idaho for the World Series. Indiana Wesleyan's comeback attempt against top seed Weber International fell short in an 8-6 loss in an elimination game in Kingsport, Tennessee. Taylor will be joined in Lewiston by IU Southeast from New Albany, which beat top seed and host Bellevue, Nebraska 3-1 Wednesday night. The World Series is scheduled to begin next Friday. We will preview for it and have results from it on the show. And Indiana Wesleyan and Marian are headed to Columbus, Georgia for the NAIA Softball World Series. The Wildcats demolished their opponents in Columbia, Kentucky, including Johnson, Tennessee, 10-2 in 6 innings Wednesday to win the regional. It'll be IWU's 5th trip to the World Series, and they'll be joined by conference rival Marian, which beat top seed and host William Carey 1-0 to win the Hattiesburg, Mississippi regional. Maisie Cone from Eastern High School threw a complete game 1-hit shutout for the 38-16 Knights. The NAIA Softball World Series begins next Thursday. In the NBA playoffs, the Cavs beat top seed Detroit 117-113 in overtime to take home court advantage in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Close game most of the night. The Pistons led 103-96 with 2 minutes left. It looked like they were going to be on their way to a win before Evan Mobley scored 7 straight points to send the game into overtime. The Cavs scored 9 of the first 11 points in the extra session. They can now advance to the East Finals against the Knicks with a win on Friday. No games in the NBA playoffs tonight. Spurs-Wolves Game 6 is also Friday. In the majors, the Braves beat the Cubs for the second straight night, 4-1 on Wednesday. The Braves now 30-13, the best record in baseball. And the Reds lost a 5-0 lead in an 8-7 10-inning loss to the Nationals. They've lost 10 of their last 12 to fall to last place in the National League Central. Colorado Avalanche advanced to the West Finals of the Stanley Cup playoffs with a 4-3 overtime win in Game 5 over the Minnesota Wild. They'll face now either Vegas or Anaheim, who play Game 6 tonight in Anaheim with the Knights up 3-2. That follows Sabres Canadiens Game 5 in Buffalo at 7. That's on TNT. That series tied 2 games apiece. All reports indicate that top 10 2027 recruit Isaiah Hill from Pike is close to committing to Purdue. He's still reportedly considering Louisville as well, but On3 Sports has Purdue 97%, Louisville 3%. I'll get Jake Dunn's thoughts on this week's Purdue report. We'll also talk about where we expect Braden Smith to go in the draft and probably some other stuff. That should be out on Friday, Saturday afternoon at the latest. We'll also be talking some Purdue baseball. The Boilermakers close out their regular season with a 3-game series in Iowa at Iowa Cubs Stadium with huge implications. They're a game out of 4th place, with the top 4 teams in the Big Ten getting a first-round bye into the conference quarterfinals. And in the latest college baseball bracketology, Purdue is either the last team in or the first team out. First pitch against Iowa tonight at 6. All 16 boys basketball sectionals are underway, including at Hamilton Southeastern, where 15-10 Westfield and 12-20 Noblesville earned quarterfinal wins Wednesday night to set up a semifinal matchup Saturday morning at 11. Aiden Kuzma had 9 kills and 4 aces for Westfield in the win over Kokomo. Number 2 Carmel and number 4 Hamilton Southeastern play the first quarterfinal tonight at 6. Followed by 14 and 15 Fishers against 12 and 11 Guerin. Park Tudor beat University 16-14 in the 5th set, and North Central beat Brebeuf in 4 sets at Pike. At Cathedral, Newcastle beat Heritage Christian in 4 sets, and the host Irish swept Irvington Prep. And Perry Meridian swept New Pal at Franklin Central. Some highlights from the local softball fields. Mississinawa scored 9 times in the first and 11 more in the second in a 26-0 win over Kokomo. Jara Teagarden doubled, homered, and scored 4 times, and drove in 7 runs for the 14-3 Indians. Blackford scored 8 times in its final 2 at-bats in an 8-1 win over Wapahani. Madison Grant fell to Monroe Central 13-3. Clinton Central blanked Tri-Central 7-0. Elizabeth Connolly went 3 for 4 with a triple in Lapel's 8-2 win over Anderson. Number 3, Logansport doubled up Hamilton Heights 6-3. Noblesville edged Roncalli 7-3. Ruby Weaver tripled and drove in 6 in Western's 16-4 win over Rossville. And Amelia Andrews doubled and homered, her 5th of the season, in Eastern's 11-6 win over Sheridan, the Comets' 10th win of the year. In baseball, Brody Arnold threw 7 strong innings in Tri-Central's 3-2 win over Clinton Central. Northwestern beat Manchester 4-2 to improve to 6-1 in the Three Rivers Conference. Eastern is 16-8 after beating Sheridan 11-3. Western is 20-1 after beating Lafayette Jeff 12-8. And New Pal blanked Pendleton Heights 3-0. And the PGA Championship gets underway this morning at Aronimink in Pennsylvania, the second major of the year. Braden Shattuck, Alex Fitzpatrick, and Ben Griffin tee off at 6:45 this morning. And now you know everything I know about Central Indiana sports. We'll be back tomorrow. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.